You are tuned in to the Gift of Gab podcast, a podcast where we are intentionally growing, accepting, and becoming the best version of ourselves. We focus on all things healing, wellness, spirituality, self-development, and bettering our relationship with ourselves and others. In every episode, we'll be reflecting on lessons learned through past experiences, setting goals, and helping each other reach our fullest potential. I am your host, Gabrielle Ariana, and welcome to this week's episode. Welcome, you guys. We are tuned in to the Gift of Gab podcast. And for this first episode, we're going to be talking about intentional growth, intentional acceptance, and being intentional with becoming the best versions of ourselves. And first, let's talk about growing. What is intentional growth? What does that look like? Now, intention is defined as being calculated, being planned, well thought out. Growth is defined as expansion, progress, change, self-improvement. With growing, it's really pouring into yourself and just mindfulness of who you are as a whole, mindful of where you are in your life, where you are with your relationships, and really doing the self-analysis of who you are now and the person that you are striving towards becoming. And with being intentional about your growth, it looks a lot like self-reflection, introspection, as well as analyzing your environment and the people that you are close to and the relationships that you have, analyzing where you are in your career. But it's really being intentional with the growth of you as a person and everything external outside of you that is a part of that growth of the person that you're striving towards becoming. And for me, intentional growth was really sitting with myself and just reflecting on life and realizing that there's a lot of things that I am still currently growing from. And there's things that I'm still having to improve within myself. That includes like how I am with my relationships and how I am in my career and in life and spirituality, etc. And being intentional with my growth for me looks like putting myself first. It looks like I'm actually being mindful of what I'm doing, who I'm around. How am I spending my days and what activities am I doing on those days? What am I consuming and what am I allowing to consume me? And then reflecting on that, well, how are those things that I've just now made note of are or are not in alignment with the person that I am striving towards becoming and the person that I will need to be to reach my goals, to be where I envision myself being in life, but also being mindful of the fact that life is not going to look like how I want it to look, which is where acceptance is a huge portion of your journey of life. Acceptance is when you are being intentional with accepting again who you are and accepting every version of yourself that exists, all parts of who you are as a whole, the good, the bad, the highs, the lows, and pretty much everything that makes you who you are. Accepting that. And acceptance is a huge key. I feel like, what is intentional acceptance? Acceptance is, especially when it comes to your past, I found myself in this space of rejecting my reality and not wanting to be present in it because it wasn't what I wanted it to look, what I wanted it to be. It didn't look like how I expected it to look and how I created it in my head. And once I sat down and was like, you have to accept what your current reality is. You have to accept the person that you are and know that the person that you are is not the person you're going to always be, because you're always growing. And if you're intentional with your growth, which is like, pouring into yourself, intentional with your relationships, intentional with your career, intentional with your relationship with God, intentional with your relationship with your family, with your friends, and what you decide to do every day and how you spend your time, those things together is allowing me the room and the opportunity to become the person that I'm wanting to be and that I'm striving towards being. And acceptance is also acknowledging the areas that you have grown and acknowledging the areas that you're still needing to work on and in the areas that you're probably needing to put more attention towards. Acceptance is also the key, I feel, of getting out of a stagnant state or feeling complacent. I feel like I was in a place in life where I felt very stagnant. I feel like I wasn't doing anything, and anything that I was doing wasn't beneficial towards me, even if it was probably in that moment. I was so blocked off and blinded, like, no, because my life is not looking like how I want it to look. And because it wasn't looking like how I wanted to look, I wasn't in the space of being able to receive anything more than what I already had, because I was too stuck in my own ways, and I was too stuck this rabbit hole of thoughts of what my life is, what it was, and what I've experienced up until that point, and how none of those things were in line with the person that I'm striving towards being. They were not in line with the person that I thought that I would be at this point in my life. And it just put me in a funk, and it just made me feel very low. And because I felt very low, I'm someone who likes to be very positive. I try to be very positive, and I try to look at things on a brighter side. But there are those days where I just can't. I can't be positive. I can't be happy. I can't be hopeful. All I can do is dwell in my thoughts, dwell in my current state of emotions in that time. And because I was dwelling in it, it just kept me in this cycle of like, this can't be my reality. Why is this my reality? This can't be my reality. Why is this my reality? And one day I just had to get up and say, you know what? This is your reality because of the way you are perceiving it to be. This is your reality because you're not doing anything different. This is your reality because you're also not accepting the fact that it's your reality. You're not acknowledging that this is your reality, or even open to receive anything different than what it currently is, because it's all you're thinking about, and that's all you're focusing your time on, is thinking like, how is it that what I created in my head for myself is not what my life looks like now? And I realized that was not working for me. I realized that I needed to be better. I needed to do something different. And I need to be a lot more intentional with myself. I need to be more intentional with others. I need to be more intentional with what I'm doing, what I'm consuming, how am I spending my days, what is my routine. I need to be more intentional with really believing in myself, and also intentional with my relationship with God, and being more intentional with being in the space and energy in the flow of allowing things to come as they are into my life, and know that everything that I'm currently going through and have experienced is all for my own greater good, because all of those things curated me to be the person. So whatever the person is that I'm striving towards being, that person experienced all these things that I've currently experienced up until this point, which is why I feel like it is so important to always be present and to stay in the present moment. I do believe that the past, the present, and the future are all happening simultaneously. But the key is obviously to be in the present moment, because your present is what creates your future and your past. So in this time where I was just dwelling in everything, and I was reflecting on life and just realizing that it was literally nothing that I wanted it to be, or that I painted it out to be, every day I was doing that. And in each of those moments, that was my present moment at the time. That's all I was doing, was thinking about those thoughts, having those feelings, just realizing like, this is not what I want life to be. But I'm also blocking the opportunity and the space for me to be receiving of the things that I actually did desire and want out of life. And once I realized that, it took me really analyzing myself and isolating myself from literally everything and everyone, because I just didn't have the capacity to be there for myself and be there for other people. But I had to really get out of the funk and be like, okay, so what can you do differently today that can and that will affect your past and your future in a way that you will be satisfied and that you feel will be in aligned with the person that you are striving towards being and the person that you thought you would be at this point. And that's when I start doing something different. I start to be very intentional with my growth, and that is intentional with myself internally and externally. So internally is allowing my thoughts to come and choosing which of those thoughts am I going to exercise and which of those thoughts am I going to give power to. Also, being intentional with the fact that I have to accept the previous versions of me that were very low and very dark, because I know that's not something that I like to channel off instinct, is being, in a very low vibrational state, a very sad state. But I do know that's a part of life and that's a part of me as a person, because I'm going to have emotions and I'm going to feel things in a very deep way, whether that's a good feeling or a bad feeling, a positive feeling or a negative feeling, however you look at it. It's a part of who I am. And just because I have a season of being in a low state, in a state of which I wasn't receiving, that season allowed me to have the insight that I have now and the enlightenment of realizing that I needed to go through that season of my life and that chapter to be the person that I am now. And the chapter and the season I'm currently in, I have to be this person and experience the things that I'm experiencing currently to be the person that I'm striving towards becoming. Because you never know the person you're going to become, but you are always becoming something or someone greater. And I feel like to be intentional with becoming someone, becoming the best version of yourself, those two key ingredients is being intentional with your growth and being intentional with acceptance. And so intentional growth and acceptance is the art of well thought out expansion and being receptive to who you are as a whole, and that allows you to become the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like for you in your current season. Because again, it's all about being in the present moment, but also accepting of what you have learned from your past relationships, environment, etc., and also being accepting and receptive of what's to come in the future. And that's you becoming that greater person, becoming the best version of yourself. And I feel like in each present moment, you're always the best version of yourself in that moment, because everything from your past relationships and your past experiences beforehand curated you to the person that you are currently. And the person that you are currently is the person that you needed to become the person that you are striving towards becoming. And this podcast is going to be all about growth and, intentionality. It's going to be about relationships. It's going to be about pretty much everything that comes with this thing that we call life. And I want it to be a podcast where people feel seen, they feel heard, they honestly feel, and they can acknowledge their feelings, to be accepting of it and know that at any given moment in your life, literally your life can change for the better. And the things that you think are like the worst thing that can ever happen to you are sometimes, most of the times, for your greater good. And you don't never realize that until later on in life, till you reach a different chapter, a different level, a different season, where you can now reflect on it in a different lens because you are a different person. And you're not the same person that you once were. However, simultaneously, you are still that person, because that version of you still exists. It's just being intentional with accepting that person. Even if that person is someone that you didn't like being in that moment, there's times where there's versions of me that I'm like, yeah, I didn't like being that person. It didn't take me not being that person anymore to realize that that person that I was not good, like for myself or even for other people. But I needed to be her because she's a piece of the puzzle that is me. And I look at everything as like a puzzle in life, or even a game even. Because everything that you're learning, every person that you experience, every experience that you have, opportunities, the environments that you're in are all these small little puzzle pieces on this huge puzzle that, as we continue to grow and we continue to live life and experience life and other people and environments, are being pieced together, but each season within itself is like an overall puzzle, and that is a puzzle to your bigger, larger puzzle that is you and how you experience your life. And you never really see your full picture of your puzzle, of it being completed, until your time is no longer and you transitioned on. However, there is a way of which you can be very intentional with how you live your life. And I think intentionality is very important and it's essential because it allows you to be disciplined in the way that you are making sure that you are not just doing things to do them, but there's an intention as to why you're doing it. And you're mindful of how what you're doing, who you're around, where you're at is affecting you currently and can potentially have an effect on you in your future. So, yeah, this is all about growing. This is all about life and what comes with life. Another thing is with my being intentionally growing with myself is growing and being accepting of the versions of me that even I think I don't have the capability of being, but I still know deep down inside, like, you have the potential to be this person. And so that's what really pushed me to start a podcast. Was I've had this idea for over a year. I've had broken down each episode. I've broken down what I would talk about, and I kept sitting on them. And I'm like, the version that I was before was like, girl, you can't do it. No, why are you wanting to do this? Like, no, you can't do it. No, you can do something different. This is not what you need to be doing. But you never know. You never know how you and your experiences and your story, your journey can have an impact on someone else. You never know what someone else is going through and how you being the voice of your own experiences and your own trauma and just the things you learned through in life, someone else can resonate with and someone else can feel seen and heard. It's like listening to a song that can explain whatever mood that you're currently in or whatever experience you just had, but you couldn't find the words to say that, but it resonates with you so much. And that for me was like what really drove me to do this podcast. Was like, girl, you don't know how you using your voice can allow someone else to feel heard, feel seen, and just honestly feel. So that's what this is, you guys. I feel like for anyone who's listening that is battling with accepting themselves, especially when you are in a season that you are not wanting to be in and that you know is not in alignment with the person that you're striving towards becoming, just stick it out. Be more intentional. Intentionality is very, very essential and it's key. I feel like when you're intentional, you're giving yourself a sense of direction in every area of your life, whether that's being intentional with your relationships, with your family, friends, romance, career, how you spend your days, intentional with what you're eating, what you're consuming, what you're doing. A huge portion of it as well when it comes to acceptance is also accepting the unknown. Because in life, there is so much that we don't know. And when you're accepting of the unknown, you are also accepting of a multitude of possibilities and outcomes of life that can be very beneficial for you, that will and can be aligned with the person that you're striving towards becoming, that you didn't even have the capacity to envision for yourself. If I learned anything, is that God has a multitude of possibilities that can happen, of things that can happen for you. And we think so small that we only think there's only a limit of what can be done for us and to us, that there's hundreds and thousands of millions of things that we obviously couldn't think of that can be the very thing that really changes our lives and allow us to perceive life in a different lens that is in line with the person that we are wanting to be and the person that we are going to become. So that's what this is all about, y'all. Growing, accepting, and becoming someone greater, becoming her, becoming him, becoming the best version of yourself, becoming more open, becoming more receptive. Yeah, that's what this is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. I'm super excited. And it's only up from here. It's only up from here. But I do want to leave you guys with this and to just really reflect currently, right now, in your current season of life. What areas of your life have you grown that you are proud of, that you can acknowledge? And what areas in your life do you know need more intentionality with that growing season that will assist you in being aligned with the person that you're striving towards? Are you someone who is accepting of your current reality, and are you accepting of the possibilities that life has to offer you, even if that doesn't look like what you painted in your own head? Because for me, I visualize everything, and so how I envision my life is not what it is currently. However, I'm so grateful that my life turned out exactly what it turned out to be, because it allowed me to be the person that I am now. And the person I am now is going to allow me to be the person that I am becoming and that I'm striving towards. So really reflect on, what does intentional growth look like for you in your life, and what areas of your life do you feel you need to be a little bit more intentional? What parts of you have you not fully accepted and are probably still currently having to accept? What is blocking you or restricting you from being open and receptive to all the things that you really want out of life? Because for myself, it was my thoughts. It was really dwelling in this negativity. And again, it's a part of the journey to sit in your negative and low thoughts and your low vibrational states, because it allows you to appreciate the higher vibrational ones. It allows you to appreciate the positive and good ones that make you feel good. But duality is important when it comes to life. You know, to understand when you probably have to experience the other, or at least be able to sit in it for a little bit and reflect on how even that low vibrational state that you're in is actually having a positive effect on you. Because for me, sitting in my negative thoughts have a very positive effect on me, because now I can really figure out what triggered them, what part of me and what version of me still feels that way and didn't feel seen, and that's why I felt the way that I'm feeling. And it's making me think that I can't become someone greater, that I can't be the person I'm striving towards being, because everything it's just a puzzle piece to your huge puzzle. So really reflect on, what can you do differently today that is going to be intentional with allowing you to become the person that you're striving towards being. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gift of Gab podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at thegiftofgab_pod. I will speak to you all next week. Thank you guys so much. Continue to grow, accept, and become someone greater than you are now.